Hey freelance lawyers, Sonrisa here. I'm here today to talk to you about the topic of rate setting. As a freelance attorney, how do you set your rate? How much should we charge? This is the question that I get asked most often by aspiring freelance attorneys. Just how much should we charge? How should we be setting our rates? So this video is a little short introduction to that topic, but before we get to that, a funny story for you. 3.5 to 4 years ago, when I was starting my freelance firm, Lewis Legal, I went out to lunch with a colleague. This was a colleague, he had a solo practice at the time, but he said, "Oh, hey, Sonrisa, I hear that you're going to be freelancing. This is something that I've done in the past. Maybe we could go out to lunch and I'll give you some tips and advice and we'll just chat about it." And I said, great, this is exactly what I want to do. This was the very beginning for me. Before I had even started working as a freelance attorney, I was just kind of getting ready, thinking about it. So anyway, the attorney and I, we went out to lunch and we got to the point where I wanted to ask him about rates. So I said, "Hey, I'm thinking of charging $75 an hour. Do you think this is an appropriate rate?" And I asked the question and he looked at me and he said, "That feels high." I said, "Okay, what range, do you have a range you're thinking of? What might be a more appropriate rate?" He took a breath. He looked at me. He said, it just feels too high." I said, "Okay. Well, then do you have any advice about how I might think about setting the rate or a more appropriate number or something that I can use to think about?" And he looked at me and he said, 75 just feels too high for you." At this point, I'm feeling like I'm talking to a rock, so I let the topic go. I didn't take his advice at all. Instead, I went home, I did my own research, and I found freelance attorneys charging as little as $35 an hour and as high as $275 an hour. So that's quite a large range and doesn't give a lot of guidance there. But today, when freelance attorneys ask me this question, I have a 5-factor analysis, lawyer style, that I walk them through. A kind of more thoughtful and systematic approach and way to think about setting a good rate. And it depends on several things. And I'm going to put out another video that goes into more detail about that. But circling back to the story, a couple years after that lunch with this lawyer, I was up and running. Lewis Legal was going well. And he reached out to me and he said, "Sonrisa, I hear you're doing well. I would love to have you freelance and do some work for my law firm." And I was able to tell him, "You know what? My rate is X dollars an hour now, and that just feels too high for you." So it was this great kind of karmic moment, a nice laugh, a nice chuckle karmically. But again, setting rates can be a tricky topic, and I like to walk lawyers through 5 different factors to think about, to consider. So I'll have some more video content for you guys on this topic and other topics. I also walk you through all of the nitty-gritty. If you're interested in starting your own freelance firm, I walk you through every single thing that you need to get started in my program, Freelance Lawyer Academy. But that's all for today, and I'll talk to you soon.